Hello, people of the internet, and on this episode of Industrial Automation Time Trial thingy me bobber, I have a vehicle which is obviously the best vehicle of 1992. Nothing to do with the fact that I have made it, obviously. Just the fact it's the best car ever. It's body on frame with a cast iron engine that has overhead cams, yes, not overhead valves. Easy to confuse the two, not like they're completely different technologies or anything. Live axle coil on the back, as you'll see here. It's kind of a full-size car of the era. Now, I've shown it off in my last update video thingy, but here's the interior. I spent a lot of time on it. Therefore, I'm making you see all my 8 speakers and subwoofer. Still, this is basically the best car 1992 could bring from America. That's not a sports car or anything. Still, I do need to stop procrastinating. So let's try this again. Before I tried driving it, but I didn't realise I had left the traction control on, and I think that was giving me a bit of an unfair grip advantage, given I only got 205 hard tyres. It was handling better than it should have. It does get going at a decent enough pace. Ooh, you see there, it got a bit squirmy. It wasn't doing that before. The ESC was a bit too helpful. I don't like having it on because it's not fair on certain vehicles. It helps them out too much. Come on. Find your way into the right gear already. It's too late there, and now I'm slowing down. Oh dear. Somehow I managed to save the rear end there without hitting anything. Come on. On we go. See if we can get a bit of a drift up. No, we can't. It's got an open differential. Felt quite slow through there, but we did get a good run across the line eventually, and that should mean the second lap has a chance of being good at least. Whether it will be is another thing, but, you know, good to give it a chance. There's a lot of interior bits here, so one or two of them could get knocked out of the car, and we could see that on the track. We don't know fancy aero or anything. Well, it's got a fully clad under tray for maximum miles per gallon from your big cast iron V8, but then, you know, nothing in terms of actual performance. Come on. I'm flooring it there. You know, I'll give it that. It doesn't seem to understeer as badly as you might expect a boat to. It does understeer, but maybe not so badly as you'd think. We've set a sub 1 minute time to begin with, and that was not a best lap of the world. Yes, that's totally a legitimate way of saying things now, because I declared it is. Come on, and we find our power eventually. Oof, it sounds painful, but I'm pretty sure it's just clunking the bodywork, or clonking the bodywork, should I say. Yes, along there we go. You see, the floatiness is definitely useful, with this being a more comfort-orientated vehicle. Also, it's got alloys, but very small alloys, which is exactly what you want for off-roading, because those tyres will help absorb a lot of the bumps as well. As a matter of fact, having smaller wheels can also help on road too. It means the wheels are lighter than they would be if they were huge. There are some advantages to big wheels, especially on certain cars, but I believe this is a type of vehicle that would benefit from smaller ones personally. We have done a 54-second time. It's not slow. I did have a Chevrolet Impala go around, and that did a 50-second time, but granted that had 260 horsepower, not just under 200. So, yeah, the Impala I speak of also, that was from kind of a lost episode that was recorded at 20 frames per second, so I couldn't use it. I should have that problem sorted now, so everything you see here you will see. Come on. Doing a lovely drift there. I think, what was it? It was a Chevrolet. that was in the first episode. I'm trying to remember what it was called. What the El Camino used as a base. How is this name? It's Chevelle, that's it. That got into a beautiful controlled slide at one point. Oh, come on, come on. Find your traction. That was actually, I reckon, quite a good smooth run. It looked like this car was bouncing all over the place, and indeed it was. But it was kind of doing it in a semi-controlled fashion and travelling where you would want the car to travel to. I managed to ease onto the power there, and that was nice. Come on. I don't know what I'm doing here to try and put the power down. Come on. It's like that last corner, it seems to get a good controlled slide. And we've done a 53 on the 4th lap. Not bad at all, even if it's not the quickest time in the world. It's not the most powerful car in the world. Okay, and here we have my micro shipper RS. Yes, the term came to me eventually. This is a van I built, only it has a V8. Closely related actually to the one in the car we've just had. But this engine is evolved. It's got dual overhead cams and puts out 300 horsepower going to the back wheels, which are, I think, 295s if I remember correctly, and I believe the fronts were 235s. It's a little Euro van, but it's got a lot of potential. I think it weighs under 1550 kilos as well. So there's a lot of potential here. I turned the electronic traction assists off. Okay. Okay, I probably should have sorted out my traction assists before going off the line. You'll see we do have the bonnet scoop, which is interesting, and it's blue, like a Subaru. So, it's quite a different vehicle. Even though this is front-engine rear drive with a live axle on the back, I mean, it's so drastically different from that previous vehicle. It's low, it's sporty, it's got big wheels and big brakes, and I think sport tyres. This is quite something else. Ow. Whee! It does corner bow as well. I believe this is still an open diff if I remember correctly. I may have put something else on it, but I'm pretty sure I left it as an open diff, and this is handling so differently. It handles like a muscle car, and that's largely attributed to the power, but also I called it the pony van. I was going for that. I think I have some aerodynamic features as well. I'm not sure how they've worked out because I think it's been a while since I set them up on kind of the initial version of this vehicle, which accidentally had all-wheel drive, or 4x4 should I say. It's now rear-wheel drive as it's supposed to be, but it didn't start out that way. Oof. It flies quite well there actually, and quite steady. This is what happens to your parcels though when you order them off me, just so you know. Ooh. This is a bit dangerous. This is how I deliver my graphics card to its new owner. I'm so respectful. Anyway. We've got to get across the line. It feels quick, and yes indeed I saw 53 there, and I doubt that's going to be its quickest time. I had to slow down. It was beginning to oversteer and it was time to brake anyway. Come on. The thing is, you're not meant to go and just floor it all the time if you want to actually go quick with it. That's not the way to do it, but it's so much fun doing that. That's the fun way to drive this, and yes, it's going to cause that. It's going to cause you to either spin or roll over, but as I say, it's just so much fun. How can I resist that? Unfortunately, this doesn't have a subwoofer. It just has a basic interior. It is purely a utility vehicle, let's say. But a utility vehicle that happens to have a big V8 up front. It's the same displacement, 6 litres, the same bore and the same stroke, but it's had evolutions to go with the years. It started out, the Series 1 in 1970, and then this is a 2001, so it's the 4th generation engine. The 3rd generation engine was what we saw in that vehicle before. this is... Thereby, even though it's still cast iron, it's probably about as advanced as this engine will ever be before I move on to creating something new for the newer generation of vehicles I've just been playing around with. Slow it into here. I got a poor angle there, oh dear. I just don't want to hit anything, but then at the same time, I don't know. Come on. Bit gentle here, and then I try and floor it. Yes, the wall did actually support me there and stop me spinning, thankfully. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Find the power, find the power, find the power. Really, you had to wait that long for me to cross the line. You couldn't just let me. Something is wrong on the front end of this vehicle. 53 may be my best, and I think it's slower than that other vehicle. Hey, the fifth lap could be the quickest. I'm somewhat doubtful, but there's a tiny inkling of chance that this could be the quickest lap. Although it feels like I've lost my front left wheel, because something is badly wrong with how this is wobbling about. I mean, it does wobble about because it's a firmly sprung sports car on an off-road circuit, but yeah, more than it should. And I say sports car, sport van is perhaps a better term. Alrightio. I got a surprisingly good one there. Well, I'm going to floor it now and just hope. Yeah, it was slow, alright. So not as quick as it could have been, and I think that was entirely my fault. Let's just see what happened to the front of the vehicle. Surprisingly little. It's not in my head though. You can hopefully tell it's got some positive camber just on that one wheel, so it was affecting the handling that was in such a fine balance before. Yeah, things didn't quite go as they should have. We do have a fancy cloth interior though on this, and floating seats. Still, on to the next vehicle, which actually isn't mine. Okay, so here we have the 2021 Picolina in the most excellent of colour choices, and I didn't bother remembering the suspension, so you'll see it's torsion beam on the back, and looks like double wishbone on the front. So, surprisingly similar to my muscle vehicle thing, which isn't a muscle car, but it's got a V8, and it's a boat of sorts, yes. But I can't put words together anymore. Anyway, my point I'm trying to make, this is a much lighter vehicle with quite close power from a 3-cylinder engine as well. It's not got half the cylinders, but it can go. Yeah, I have a manual mode. That is very nice. Very much appreciated. Wow, this flies. Oh dear. Feels like it flies even more than my van, although that van was not too quick overall. It was quick, don't get me wrong, but the, pliability, would I say, of my large full-size vehicle, and the ease of controlling that ultimately won it the day. I mean, not that I can complain, the van didn't have all that much weight at the back, because whereas a car had metal there and seats and all that other stuff, the van just had, well, nothing other than a bit of a metal box surrounding or on top of the chassis, should I say, and I don't know, because I would have said on top of the chassis, but it was kind of a light truck unitary, so there was a chassis back there, but it was only back there. Anyway, my point is, it was just a big metal box there, but there wasn't much to it, whereas the more advanced sound system and such, electronics, in other words, and the seats, as I said before, would all weigh down on the back of that. I'm not talking much about this car though, and I shouldn't really need to. It's just a very nice driving front-wheel drive. This is going to beat that car of mine. It hasn't on the first lap, but it's came awfully close. And you see, I'm not even needing to think while driving it. It's just driving itself fundamentally. as I'm able to talk about other cars while trying to drive this, I'm messing up my gearing and such, but things are still going very well, despite the fact it feels like a proper hot hatchback. Even if that was never the intent to make it that way, it performs like it was meant to go incredibly quick. It's almost like that Fiat Panda thing we had in the first episode, but actually quick. It's got that same wonderful feeling to it, but that wonderful feeling accompanied with actual power. It doesn't feel too much like it's going to roll over, but I can feel the rolling corners, and it is concerning that if it does get thrown just a bit too much, it's going to go. But that's not a concern I didn't have about the BCC shipper, as the van was called. And we've set a 50-second lap time. This is properly intimidating cars now, because that's high up the leaderboard. The Impala that I drove was quick, and that was a 50-second time. This may very well become the very quickest front-wheel drive vehicle, if it isn't already. Slow into here, third gear, accelerate. Feels like it's got an incredible differential actually, truth be told. Maybe it hasn't, maybe it's just an open diff, but it's very well set up. Who am I to say? There is an electric version of this car, so I don't know, maybe it's not a real electric powertrain, maybe it is. And it depends how they've done it. If they've done it after exporting it from automation, there's a good chance that it is a real electric power plant. If I can get a 49-second time, then I will be like completely blown away by the capabilities of this car more than I already am. I was just about losing control there, though. It feels like I'm able to push this beyond its limits, and that is concerning. Because if you push a car beyond its limits, then that is not good for lap time at all. Well, I'm going to dive in early here. Hopefully, yes, indeed. That saved a bit of time. Do the same here, yeah. Just as I've learned how to get the most speed from it, though, it's almost too late. In fact, it was too late. Yeah. Still, a very impressive time there. 50.259. It's a force to be reckoned with. So, next up we have the Bugatti Veyron 16.4, which is actually a V16 variant, not a W16, because of the limits of automation. I believe it's also twin turbo. Again, limits of automation, but it does make the 1000 horsepower, and it has all these little details that make it look a lot more like the actual thing. So without further ado, I do need to get going. Did I launch correctly? There we go. Don't hide your, oh, manual mode really bit there. But don't hide your electronic stability controls with the microphone. I think I got that, yeah. And oh, it is a bit of a handful. It feels rear-wheel drive, although it should be all-wheel drive. I mean, this is no doubt going to be quick, but it's just a supercar, and I prefer big floaty boats. I'll be the first to admit that. I mean, it shouldn't be that way, but it is. Oh dear. Come on. I'm trying to keep it in third gear. Now the thing is, I've got to find the balance between spinning up the wheels and going too slow. Oh dear. I think that will have just been cosmetic damage because I hit the centre of the front bumper. Oh dear, feels like maybe it's something more than cosmetic damage. Maybe even the bodywork is just getting in the way, even if there's nothing wrong with it mechanically. Yeah, it feels like either something's wrong with the front left wheel, the front left wheel is completely missing, or the bodywork's getting in the way. I just don't know how to control this, and it's lacking speed because of that. I mean, it still did a sub 1 minute time, but it is lacking speed. Try and get into second. 1,000 horsepower, I just think is too much for this course. No matter how good the car putting it down may be, I believe it's just too much. Speed. Well, we actually managed to keep it under control there. Now I'm going to try and keep it under control for the second lap, because third lap even, because as I say, I had that collision at the start, and that's given me a horrible second lap time. Oh, come on. Hold it in, just hold it in, please. Somehow it's held itself together. Gently does it. Gently just sit round here. Slow it. Yeah, I think I've got it now. I have to not use the 1,000 horsepower. That's the secret to it. I'm not sure I've even been out of third gear yet though, because you just can't. You can't really get it up to those kinds of speeds on this course. Now if it's going to be quick, it's going to be quick. Oh, but you know, I have to really treat this car right, because that can happen. Manual 2. I have got 5th lap to try and improve things, and the 3rd lap was okay, but I think it's going to always be beaten by what seems to be a vastly inferior car with the Audi R8, which has significantly less power. The thing is, this is why I've never liked it in other games though. The power is too much for the car to handle. Even if it can do 250 miles per hour, does that really matter when you're racing it around a track if you can't actually use that power around regular circumstances? Yes, I managed to just about hold it in there before it did slide or do something too unworldly. Is unworldly even a term? I don't know, maybe I'll have to look it up in the dictionary. Come on. I'm going to be gentle, very gentle here. See there, it did slide out, but I lifted in order to keep control of it. I'll admit as well, the suspension isn't too bad. You'd think a lot worse for an off-road course, but it doesn't feel too bad at that. Maybe it's because it's trying to be more of a GT car, I don't know. But it's doing a good enough job of filtering out the bumps. I've not really got any complaints about that. Well, I'm going to floor it now, for better or for worse. And we have got a very good time. I have to see, though, so if I go to free roam, what kind of damage have we got? Yeah? So we've got a punctured rear tyre, but I think that must have happened when it slid into that wall. And if anything, it would have been the bodywork there on that corner catching on that front left wheel will have made it handle a bit goofy. But the alignment and nothing is that badly off. Like, you see the front wheel is bent, but it's all there, it's all held in place. Probably why I was able to do a 0.53 time. I believe it's still slower than the Audi though. As I say, just too much power for its own good. Anyway, with that being said, we will need to move on to the next vehicle. Here we have more of the kind of vehicle I desire. This is the Night Fox Ruddy Wagon from 1965. It is an old American boat, and it has a 2-speed automatic transmission. Safe to say this is the least number of gears we're going to have. I don't think we have any ABS or anything, so we don't have to worry about that. And I've actually been semi-competent. Now, as I say, we're putting out about a quarter of the power that the Veyron was putting out, but I reckon with the right driving, the difference between these could be tiny. because this, you can push it for all it's worth, although I did seem to forget it's got a 2-speed transmission. So I will probably only ever be using one of those gears, realistically, since the other's going to be more of a high-speed gear. I think I can get a sub 1 minute time though, definitely. If the first lap is a 59, that would be pretty hilarious though. A first lap that's the same as the first lap of a Veyron. Even if I don't manage to beat it overall. The handling balance is okay, actually. It does not corner badly. It does understeer, but it's not really chronic understeer. And if you notice, this is a 3-row car, so we could sit potentially 7 people in this. So it's also going to be our quickest MPV, probably after my own vehicle, because I don't see how it can really match a 500 horsepower all-wheel drive thing. Come on. 1 minute 1, that's not bad though, for something with a 2-speed transmission. Come on. And yeah, that was not how you should corner. I don't know how quick I can push this though. It seems like you just shift into second gear and it loses all the power. It's an automatic, so I can't see what it's doing. 2 speeds can be a right pain around here, it must be said. There's not enough gears, whereas the Veyron maybe had too many. Too many gears is usually better though than not enough. Come on. We've got a 55, really? That is not slow. Come on, if we can match that Veyron. If we can match that Veyron, I will be laughing. Because it shouldn't be able to. If a 2-speed boat from the mid-60s can, that is. That wasn't even meant as a sports car when it was new. Come on. We kind of rebounded off that wall quite nicely. Did a Chevelle slide, which I don't even know how it's possible in the Woody. There we go. Round here we go. As hopefully you can see though, things are going well. I thought it was showing vented discs on the actual graph thingy in the left bottom corner, but yeah, I don't think it has vented discs. I think that's just what it's showing, and that was a slower lap. Even though it felt like I was flying there. I guess sometimes things don't happen as you would guess they would. I'm really turning now. Full lock there because it just wasn't going into the corner. I did eventually manage to hold it under control, but still. You see, it's shifted into second. I was thankfully coming up to a downhill. Alright, so I think I have one more lap after this. If I can brake sooner, just before that, I might not end up rebounding off that wall in quite the same way, and I might run a bit smoother and get a better time as a result of that. So hopefully we can get a good time here. I mean, a 55-second time for a boat with a 2-speed transmission, as I say, is not bad. Come on, you're in second gear now, so we have no momentum going on to the 5th lap. But at least it will only get better as you do begin to speed up along this straightaway. Brake here. Yes, I'm pushing it wide. But I would think that went a bit better than the first lap, because suddenly when it did find traction, I kind of got turned right into that corner. So we're going to brake before this crest. Yes, there we go. And I think that was a bit smoother, and it should have saved time, if I'm not wrong there. It seems like I've been consistently getting a second slower though up until this point, so I am concerned. It's almost like I'm doing everything I can to make this quicker, and it feels like I'm going quicker, but I've only got slower. So who really knows? Come on, keeping it in the higher end of first gear there, and then it just dropped all its power. I have got the best time there, incrementally though. This is a quick car for the number of gears, but only for the number of gears. It's not a quick car overall. Okay, so here we have our first campervan, and it should have high drift pneumatic suspension if it's modelled properly. Anyway, that's besides the point. It's got all these details, just like them. Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. We have to turn traction control off normally, but with this car I can't seem to do it. I tried, but it doesn't seem to actually want to go off, which is disappointing. Now, this is, I'm hoping, going to handle better than you'd think for something so tall. Ooh dear. And indeed it does. Hydro pneumatic suspension should help it. Now, I don't want to tip this over though, so I don't want to go and do anything too reckless. Like, you'll see the car we had just, the Woody, that I could jump these. I have to be careful about doing such in this car. Yes, it's a Citroen and it's got, well, Citroen suspension, not rock hard German suspension you would see in, well, virtually anything from Germany. Other than maybe a Mercedes S-Class. This is a wibbly car, actually. Quite wobbly. It is holding itself together. Please don't hit yourself. I actually just realised that concern. Although I think I'd already got under it once. Because we kind of launched and actually got our way going. This was slow there, 102. I think the Woody, believe it or not, was quicker on its first lap. Come on, this should surely be better than that. Don't let yourself get beaten by a Woody with a 2-speed. Oh dear. What did I say about being careful? It's holding itself together though. Granted, this seems a lot more stable than the actual thing. You'll see, I'm cornering with this, and cornering hard. And I do not feel like it's going to roll. Come on. How quick is this lap going to be? It feels like one that should be slow, but you'll see it was very close to our quickest lap when I felt slow with a Woody. So who knows? A 1 minute time there. It was quicker than the first lap, but then I had to kind of launch the thing on the first lap. That corner could have gone better. Oof. I am interested in actually seeing how the camper bits have survived in the back. Because, you know, that must be surely quite a few bits in automation. So, yeah. Let's dig the front wheels in there. Ooh, that felt lovely. Understeer? Non-existent. So it feels that way. It actually reminds me of the Fiat Panda thing, the TAIF, was it? Well, there is understeer here, you'll see, but just by turning, I can get around the corners, no issues, no lift. I think I can probably edge out that Woody, but it's gonna be hard. I'm gonna have to absolutely push this. Try and get every drop of performance out of it. And I'm even forgetting how high the centre of gravity should be on it. Slow before the crest. Come on. Yes, lovely. Thank you, Hydro Pneumatics. Come on, please put the power down. It did feel quick through there, although it feels like naturally front wheel drive is maybe not ideal for this course. You'll see, this is understeering at times, very rarely, but still, we're comparing it to a front engine rear drive layout, which is naturally very well balanced. Wow, that was quick. Well, I'll say that for what it is. Yeah, I'm maybe not able to beat it, I don't know, it's hard to say. Come on, turn, turn. Up the hill we go. Yes, state of the inside. Floor it. This auto is definitely better. It feels like it has maybe 4 gears, or at least 3, but it's certainly better. Ooh, that felt close to tipping. It could have been quick overall, but who knows? I mean, again, for something that probably has the aerodynamics of a barn, this is a very fast vehicle. There's no denying that much. Oh dear. corner around there, try and keep it a bit straighter there because I can probably carry more speed, and it was slower. Still, I'm pleased with a 57 for what exactly this vehicle is. So, it's held together. Maybe I lost a potted plant or two, I don't know. Or maybe this was just made in such a way it wouldn't fall apart. Hard to say, to be honest. There's things some of us will never know. However, it's time to look at the leaderboard. So, here we are in the leaderboard with the Grand Design Citroen CX I drove. Doing surprisingly poorly, actually. Although, having said that, it has still beaten the Wagoneer I once took around, which was just so understeery, really. Understeer was the thing that hurt that. It wasn't a horrible thing to drive, it was just slow and understeery. We have that, which is essentially a V10 Dodge Ram, and yeah, we've done well to beat it in the Woody Wagon, which it was desperate not to be beaten by a Taif. It's such a tiny difference. I mean, that's what, 0.013 seconds, and it won, even though it's got a 2-speed transmission. The boats can be quick when they really want to be. Beating that by, well, just over a second is our microchipper RS. Not as controllable as I would like. That's what really held this back. You know, it could have been more controllable than it was. Same with the BCC Rail, actually. It had the same problem as that, which was that it just wasn't quite as nice around corners as I would have liked. It wasn't horrible, but I feel it could have been better. Then we have the Mercury Marauder beating it again, another boat, my favourite type of vehicle, so perhaps unsurprising that we're seeing so many of them doing well. We have the Bugatti Veyron. Yes, it did well. There's no denying a 0.53.8 time is not bad, but it's also, yeah, about 0.1 of a second down from a Ford LTD from the 1980s, and that had leaf springs on the back. You see, power's nothing if you can't control that power. Same with the BCC Chariot, also a lower car in the 53s, and that car was not something that should have beaten a Bugatti Veyron. It's not even got all-wheel drive, same with a Ford, but it could beat it because you can control that power. Same, again, all these cars, you can just control the power, even though they don't have crazy amounts of power. The Chevelle SS is perhaps a surprise, because that's a very old car from the 70s, even early 70s. And you'd think the brakes would hold it back too much, but no. The Veyron is just so wheel spinny with that 1000 horsepower that you can't put it down. We are getting up here now to the quick cars. Things we already had. And then the first car we have is our quickest hot hatchback, as I say. It wasn't intended as a hot hatchback, I don't believe, but it is our quickest front-wheel drive car. Perhaps not surprising, since the next quickest is a Golf from the early 1990s, but yeah, go figure. It still did well, coming just below the Chevrolet Impala with 260 horsepower, so it's punching above its power there. We have nothing really else on the leaderboard to speak of. It is all coming together as you would expect, but this is also something worth mentioning. The Audi R8 V10 has a lot of power, but because you can control it, that is leading us. The same with the Cyclone, and that doesn't have a lot of power, but because you can control it, it's our second quickest vehicle. They are both all-wheel drive, very quick cars for the time periods they come from, as is the Veyron's supposed to be. But unfortunately, that's just mainly quick in a straight line. It's not so much quick when we're talking about taking it round corners. And this does have some preference on the corners, meaning it's merely just average. Still, with all being said and done, I'm going to leave it here for today and say goodbye until another day.